This is the Seagull 1963 chronograph, also known as the Red Star chronograph, a watch that can be had for under $150 from Aliexpress, and it's an absolute gem when it comes to affordable timepieces. I've had this watch for a year now, and it's one of the most fun watches in my collection. Yes, this is a Chinese watch, and while Chinese watches have a somewhat bad reputation, this one is a little different. It's a rather beloved chronograph and a popular choice amongst budget buyers, as it presents quite the value package when you consider the cost of a mechanical chronograph to begin with, and the wow factor it provides when you turn the watch over is almost unbeatable at its price. The movement is the beating heart of a watch, and I feel that sentiment extends to the 1963 chronograph as a whole, as its movement really is the focal point of the watch for me. It showcases what we love about mechanical timepieces, all the little gears and components delicately intertwined and arranged in a way that creates something completely mesmerizing. Even at its low price point, the level of detail here is not to be underestimated. It might not have the cleanest finishing or the finest decoration, but there's no doubt that what you're looking at is impressive, and the visual impact it gives off rivals even some of the most expensive movements in my watch box. You have to remember, this watch isn't commanding thousands of dollars, yet that ST1901 movement looks like it does, or at least it does to me, and that's what's so good about it. Put yourself in the shoes of someone who's just getting into mechanical watches, and imagine laying your eyes on this majestic mess of parts. It's confusingly beautiful, and when you then look at the price, it's love at first sight. Now, while it may look fantastic, don't expect the same when it comes to accuracy. It won't have the fine-tuning edge and precision engineering that more expensive movements will have, but this is part of the reason why it's so cost-effective. After a year of wear, mine is running at an average of about plus 20 seconds a day. Not perfect, but honestly, better than I expected. Something that originally bugged me, but has now become part of an alleviating factor when it comes to the accuracy of the watch is the non-hacking seconds. Pulling out the crown doesn't stop that seconds subdial, so while the watch isn't the most accurate, you won't be able to accurately set the time in most situations anyway, and over the year, I came to accept that. I mainly track minutes in my day-to-day life, and this gets the job done for what I use it for. Plus, if you needed to track the seconds, this is a chronograph, so you could use that function for those tasks. The feeling I get when I wear or look at the watch is one similar to that of an independent brand or microbrand. It's a mass-produced watch, yet it's somewhat niche and under the radar, with a clear design language that separates it from the crowd and makes it seem a little more special. The watch is obviously vintage-inspired, paying homage to the original chronographs made for the Chinese Air Force in the 1960s, but has a lot of quirky details that give it so much character compared to a lot of timepieces today. The dial has this aged, champagne tone to it. It's warming and welcoming, simple in execution but impactful in sensation. This dial is coupled beautifully with polished golden hour markers arranged in an alternating pattern of indices and numerals, and I must say, I love the layout. I'm a sucker for numerals, but the decision to include those indices is one that makes the watch a lot more interesting, and the way it's done is tastefully balanced, giving us the best of both worlds. Blue hands adorn the subdials as well as the hours and minutes for a bit of contrast, and for maximum pop, we get a red chronograph hand that pairs well with the red star at 12. The touch of red is what makes the dial all the more fun. I think it helps to enhance the rest of the colors on the dial here and really leans into that Chinese heritage. I like that the watch doesn't hide that fact either. It's proud to display its origins with Chinese text at 6 o'clock, which translates to Made in China, which is fitting as it takes inspiration from a historical Chinese timepiece. The elements on the dial are all quite slender, and even the positions of the subdials create a spacious look to the watch that doesn't make it feel crowded at all. When you consider all parts of the dial as a whole, we get a rather unique look, and there isn't really another watch quite like it. The proportions of all the dial components work well together, and the proportions of the case work well with the dial. This one is coming in at 38mm, a size that fits my wrist a lot better than the larger sizes, and proportionally, I think it suits the theme of the watch a lot more. A smaller case plays into that vintage aesthetic that the watch is based around, and I think this smaller size adds a bit of charm to the timepiece. The case is a fairly simple one, with a completely polished finish and features a sleek construction with slender lugs. The bezel is rounded and takes up a lot of the real estate, and paired with the domed sapphire crystal, it gives the watch a slight bulbous feeling, almost Junghans-esque. Other than that, there's not too much going on here. Classic pushers with a nice large crown for the manual wind and a clean classic case shape. One thing about this watch is it will be a thick one, measuring in at about 14mm with my calipers. The crystal does add a decent amount of height to the watch, so that is something to consider, and naturally, chronographs tend to run on the thicker side. Despite its height, I personally don't have any issues with it in terms of wear. The 38mm case diameter makes it feel compact, and the lug-to-lug of 46mm isn't too bad either, so it sits well within the comfort zone of my 6.5-inch wrist. The lugs also extend at a downward angle, so it helps the watch sit closer to the wrist and helps a lot with the protruding case back. Mine sees most of its wear time on the original NATO strap, and while the strap isn't great, it certainly gets the job done. Visually, it matches the watch quite well, in both color and form. The NATO strap harkens back to its military purpose, and its shade of khaki allows it to blend in with the watch head. The quality of the strap itself is where it's lacking. It has some crude edges and cheap hardware, and it's evidently a strap that's just slapped on with the watch. But then again, it's lasted a year with no issues, so I guess it's not all that bad after all. I've actually been meaning to look at other NATO strap options for the watch, but every time I put it on, that thought slips to the back of my mind, because despite how cheap it feels, it works and looks great on the wrist, so I kind of forget about it. If I'm honest, I had doubts if the watch could last a year. It's a watch I bought from Aliexpress after all, and you never really know what you might get in those cases. But so far, it's held up incredibly well. Granted, I don't do anything crazy with the watch on, because it only has a stated 50 meters of water resistance, so it's one of those timepieces I put on to enjoy when I know I have a normal routine day. It's an all-round fun watch to own. It has its own uniqueness and quirks that keep it from being stale, and the price just adds to the overall enjoyment. The watch has a low barrier of entry, so it's accessible for a lot of people, and I think this is one of the best gateway watches into appreciating movements and Chinese watches in general. If the past year is an indicator of how the watch will fare over time, I think it will do rather well. Regardless, I'm interested to see how it holds up over the coming years, and I'll be sure to document things as time goes on. Let me know your thoughts on the watch. Do you own one personally? Have you owned one in the past? And one I'm especially curious about is how you came about the watch in the first place, because it can be hard to come across the watch to begin with, so I'm interested to see how others found the watch. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more watch content. I'll see you in the next one.